evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us. I'm so happy to have my friend James here. And James, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. James, can you tell us about your background and how you started in real estate and your journey in real estate?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess just as my occupation and stuff like that, I'm an engineer by trade. I went to school in Waterloo and I work here in London, Ontario as an engineer. I've been doing that for a little while, and my journey into real estate sort of started when a mutual friend of ours, actually, Daryl Wood, had brought me and kind of forced me to go to Ontario Real Estate Conference 2019. I didn't really want to go. I didn't really want to spend the money. It was like $300 or $250 or something. But up to that point, I'd never paid for my own education in that sense. Like, obviously, I went to school, paid way too much goddamn money for my degree, and that's fine. But I'd never paid for like this type of thing, you know. I was like, oh, I can learn it on YouTube. I can whatever. But anyway, I went. That really changed my my perspective on a bunch of different things. Actually, that was a weekend event, Saturday, Sunday. I came home from there learning about Airbnb and the strategy, and I implemented it immediately. So like Sunday night, I came home. Monday, Tuesday, I basically prepared my house, my primary residence, to turn into an Airbnb. Tuesday night, I had listed it. Thursday night, I had someone book it for Friday, and that was so scary because I didn't even have any of the sheets and the towels and the soaps and all the stuff that you need. I didn't have any of that stuff. Basically, what I did is I just threw all my clothes in a garbage bag, and then moved to the basement essentially, and started renovating that, and didn't really think too far ahead about what would actually take to run an Airbnb. So that was a little scary, but that was how I started, essentially running house hacking in with an Airbnb upstairs, and converted my basement into a secondary dwelling. After I finished that, I did a BRRRR on that property. Because I converted the use and did all this other stuff, the refi on it was huge. I was able to pull out after expenses about $125,000. And I used that money to buy 3 other properties, multiple down payments on multiple properties. And I repeated that essentially again and again. And right now, I don't even know what, 25 properties, 50 units, something like that, somewhere in that range, is where I'm at right now. And what I'm hoping to transition to is larger apartment buildings. So I have some of the larger stuff under contract. So I'm looking for money partners and investors basically in that side of the business. And that's, I guess, my pivot right now in my transition.
So we can say that you really didn't choose real estate. It's Daryl who forced you. Or you had an idea already.
Yeah, I kind of liked it. Like I just watched some YouTube videos and stuff like that at that point. I was doing some renovations. Like I enjoyed it, but I didn't know how powerful it could be. I didn't know that oh, I can replace my annual income every single month or every other week by doing deals in real estate if I really wanted to. Like, that's insane in comparison, right? Like, I was raised to just go to university and get a good job and that type of thing. But I didn't know that how effective strategy could be.
Oh, which strategy are you talking about? The BRRRR strategy or Airbnb?
BRRRRs, yeah, BRRRRs or house hacking in general. Like my living expenses at home now are not like nothing. I make money to stay at my house, which is insane in comparison to paying rent or mortgage when you only use like 50% or less of your home in general, right?
So what tips can you give to somebody who wants to start?
To start,
yeah.
I think people are reading too many books and watching too many videos and not taking enough action. Like, literally anything that you watch, whatever it is, just go do that thing immediately. Because if you think about it too much, if you research it too much, if you whatever, you're just going to talk yourself out of it, or you're going to procrastinate it, you're going to delay it, you're going to scare yourself in some way, and you're just never going to do it. So whatever it is, like, pick up a book or pick up a video or watch something or whatever it is, and then just do that thing. and move on. And you're gonna maybe screw up. I know I did. Like I'll give you multiple examples of many things I've screwed up. One of them was so I started the Airbnb thing. Um, I didn't know what a corporation was. I didn't know any of that before. So I was collecting all the Airbnb income under my personal name for all of my Airbnbs. And that combined with my relatively decent salary pushed me into pretty much the highest tax bracket you can possibly get into. And I got destroyed in taxes for 2020. So I I didn't know any of that before, and obviously I won't make that mistake again. But it still didn't negate the income. It didn't negate the experience. It didn't negate the education. So money well spent, I guess. But that's just an example of a mistake. And
Yeah.
you just if you try to think of everything and try to avoid all the mistakes, you're just never going to do anything. Like you just got to do it.
Yeah, and we have to remember when you want to, let's say you go into Toronto, from London to Toronto nighttime, you just see like few miles in front of you. You don't see everything, but you trust every time you move up, you see more. So it's the same.
Exactly.
You cannot know everything before you
Yeah.
start. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be my biggest piece of advice for anyone starting is just actually start instead of thinking about starting or reading about starting or whatever. Like literally 5 to 10 minutes per day of doing shit is so effective. Like for anyone listening, like please remember, like I did this after work, like after I was already tired, after all that shit. So it's a matter of do I do I take action or do I read about taking action? You can kind of pick, and you can kind of figure out which is more effective after each day.
Yeah. So, but somebody who's studying out house hacking, I think it's the best if you can.
Um,
Huh?
so I would say like for someone starting out, if you don't have 100 grand saved up or access to 100 grand, so like through lines of credit or something like that, that should be your primary thing. Grind your ass off to just save up that 100 or get access to 100, because once you have 100 grand, the 5% down and plus renovation costs and all this, like a little bit of buffer for being an idiot because you're just starting, that's fine. That's going to get you really well prepared in real estate. But if you don't have 100 grand or access to 100 grand, like that should be your primary goal. So work 10 jobs if you have to. I don't know, whatever. Do a lot of shit just to save out that money or get access to that money somehow. And that should be like the primary thing. And then from there, your doors just like open. You can, the 5% down thing is obviously there. You can start furnishing Airbnbs for Airbnb re-rentals or arbitrage, whatever you want to call it. You can invest in yourself for a coach or a mentor. You can buy tools or equipment or something like that for another business, not necessarily real estate, but like that first 100 grand, literally, like you should not be wasting your money on frivolous things. Like that's if you have to kind of decide how bad do you want it, right? Like
So
what sacrifices can you make?
yeah, how did you do with this your first Airbnb? You listed before you even had everything. How
Yeah.
how did you manage the first guest?
I just told them straight up, like I'm a first time host. You're my first guest. I live downstairs. I don't know what I'm doing, so bear with me, and let's like make sure that this is a good experience for you both or us both. Um, I had missed random things. Like I was living alone. I had one fork, one spoon, one knife, one bowl, one plate, and I forgot that they need five. You know, like so it was things like that. And they're like, hey, we don't have any like cutlery or plates or anything. So like I had luckily like disposable stuff that I just gave them that night, and then I went to Costco and I bought like towels and sheets and plates and like all the shit that you actually need to live in a house with more than one person. And but it was just being open and honest with them, like please like rate me well, even though this is probably going to be like a little bit of back and forth. I bought them like a bottle of wine or whatever as a thank you for their help, because they gave me a lot of good tips as well to help the next guests have a good experience and stuff. It was, yeah, it was just being open and honest, keeping the communication. as open as possible and learning as much as I could from every single experience, so that it just gets better and more systematized, so that you don't have to make the same mistakes again and again. The system can take care of the mistakes then. Oh, you're muted, Fanny. Sorry.
Sorry, I was saying for like somebody want to start out, maybe doesn't want to do Airbnb, maybe a long-term tenant.
Yeah.
What tips can you give them?
So instead of doing a short-term rental where they furnish it and stuff, and they
Yeah.
already have a unit and they're just trying to get a long-term tenant,
Yes. Yes.
there's no tips other than just do it. Like make sure you vet your tenant. There's lots of videos on YouTube on how to do that. And just do it. Like there's nothing stopping you or holding you back. Like there's rules and regulations to follow, and then there's like things that you need to make sure that you're providing. But there's lots of resources on that that'll take you like maximum 1 day to review everything. You can speed up video playback on YouTube too, as a heads up. Like just go through that content quickly, get the gist of it, and do it. Like there shouldn't take you 3 weeks or a month to plan about getting a tenant. Just take a night, take 2 nights, maybe maximum, and get it going.
Yeah. Okay. So, but do you think it would be better to do Airbnb, or which one do you like the most, or long term?
So I do both. I have about maybe 5 or 6 Airbnb units right now, and then I have like the rest of the portfolio, like 40 something as long-term rentals. But like it really depends on the person. So when you enter the Airbnb field, you have to remember that you're in the hospitality field now. Like you're a host, you're a hotel concierge, or you're whatever, you have to be that person. If you're not ready to be a customer service representative, essentially, then it's not for you. Like you need a, like, what the last complaint that I had was, can we have a different hand soap because my son doesn't like the smell of grapefruit. I told them, like, just don't use that soap. There's soap by the kitchen, just use that soap. But like stupid shit like that, like,
Wow.
it's funny, but you can't get pissed off by it, because at the end of the day, like, they're your customer, right? So
Yeah.
but there's shit like that that'll come up, and if that's already going to piss you off, Airbnb is not for you. So I already talked about like getting my guest interaction down to about 8 to 10 minutes or so per guest, and that's basically like automated messages that you can link and send, or just like they're pre-typed and you just press enter. So that's the type of thing that I do. I make sure the communication is really open, and make sure that the guest knows what they're getting into before they book the unit or before they enter the unit, so that there's no miscommunication in expectations.
So on top of what you already put on your description on Airbnb, you tell them again, it's a 2-bedroom.
I tell them again.
Again.
Yeah, so like not necessarily like that, but I talk to them about the house rules and things that may cause issues. So like I talk to them like, hey, there's no smoking, there's no parties, there's no people coming over and staying over that are not on the listing. We have a camera outside. This is where the parking is. This is where the garbage goes. Like I tell them like it's a block of writing like this long, and I just say like, do you understand that? Are you okay with that? And they're usually pretty good. They're like, yep, number one, yes, number 2, yes, number 3, okay, we won't be smoking, number 4, whatever. Like they go through it and they just accept the terms, essentially, because it also protects you as a host that says, hey, I told them exactly this, so they can't complain about it. Like if they do complain about it, then Airbnb can resolve things like that typically. So
and do you say that just before we get in, the same day, or after we get in?
I send it immediately. Like, so as soon as they talk to me, I tell them that right away.
Oh,
That's
right
my
away.
automatic response.
Oh,
Like, hey, thank you for inquiring. Just as a reminder, these are the house rules. If you're not going to be okay with that, probably this unit's not for you. If you have any other questions, let me know. That type of thing.
oh, okay. And if by any chance somebody smoke inside, how do you handle that?
So these are all like the little nitty gritty details that it's very easy to resolve with like parties police. damage Airbnb or the guest, and any other thing, just stipulate. Like if there's if there's smoking in the unit and there's evidence of smoking in the unit, these are the charges. If there's damage to different things, these are the charges. There's security deposit. Like it's so easy on Airbnb, which is one of the reasons why it's so nice in comparison to long-term rental, where the LTB typically right now in Ontario is about an 8-month delay versus in Airbnb, typically it's like under a week to resolve anything that happens, right? So yeah, like I had a I don't know if you allow swearing on your channel here. I'll try not to. I swear a
Yeah,
lot.
try not to.
Yeah, so I had some guests who were very active together on a bed of mine, and they just broke it. They broke it. They broke the bed, and they didn't tell me or anything. So my cleaners found it. They're like, "Hey, the bed is destroyed, and you need another one." And I messaged them. She was very embarrassed. She's like, "Oh yeah, like anyway." She paid. I just sent her a screenshot. This is the bed I ordered off Amazon. I'm going to order it again. I need you to transfer me this money, and she did. And plus the labor for the guys to reassemble it and stuff. So it's about 20-30 bucks extra on top of that, and she paid it immediately, pretty much. So it was compare that to so many people who have had tenants leave the water running, break everything, whatever, like leave all the mess and damage, and they're never going to get that recouped, or it takes 8 months or a year to get that money back.
Yeah.
So pros and cons, right? Like, do you want to have more management, or do you want to have more control, or whatever? Like, it's really up to the person.
But for you, which one do you like the most? Long term or?
I do both. I don't have a preference. I do both. And I do that mainly because I like to mitigate against different things. So like on the Airbnb side, you're mitigating against damage and risk, and your cash flow is higher and all this other stuff. But on the long-term rental side, there's less management, and there's more certainty in a sense. So that's it. It's really up to you. Like Airbnb is a little bit riskier and it's more hands-on and all this other stuff, but the cash flow is higher.
Yeah.
So it's really your personal preference. I do both because I like both. And I will continue to do that. Yeah. I don't have one better than the other type of thing.
Perfect. And how do you deal with pet? Do you accept pet or you in your
Yeah,
Airbnb?
always.
Always.
Always. Yeah, so I just tell them straight up, if you have a pet, the cleaning fee is $100 extra, because we got to get all the hair out, we got to do extra cleaning, whatever. I just, again, like, just be very clear and upfront. And most places don't accept pets, so people are more than happy to pay the extra fee to have their pet with them. So, and again, any damage caused by the pet, it's easily recoverable. So
Perfect. Okay. So what are the mistakes, according to your experience, what are the mistakes for a new person you should avoid, or could tell them to avoid when they're starting up?
The shiny object syndrome type of thing, where there's too many distracting things that are low value. So I was talking about, like, just make your first 100,000 after, like, grind and just get that. That's fine. Like, do everything, whatever you have to do, just get that 100 grand. But then after that, you really need to focus and niche down. And I see a lot of people, even right now, like, oh, let's buy Dogecoin, let's buy Bitcoin, let's buy Ethereum, let's buy real estate, let's do Airbnb, let's do flipping, let's do, like, there's so many strategies. Every single one of them can make money, but like, none of us have the experience or capacity yet, maybe, or team really, to do all of those things extremely well at the same time. So that's what I would say is a big mistake, is trying to do everything and you end up doing nothing well. It's a mistake I made as well, where, so as an example, I was doing Airbnb, I was doing Turo, I was doing day trading, I was still working my full-time job, I was doing my own renovations, everything. Like, I was just doing everything. It was too much, and nothing was going amazing. Like, back then, I think I was earning $1,800 on my Airbnb. I was earning, I don't know, maybe another $1,000 on my Turo car rental thing. My day trading thing, I was doing like 7%. All these things were just mediocre. Versus, like, now focusing on the Airbnbs, focusing on a couple other things that I just really dive deep into, and all of them are performing at a high level now, versus just all mediocre. So
how do you manage 6 Airbnb? Do you manage them by yourself, or you have somebody
yeah,
help?
they're no, they're all personally managed. So I do have a team of cleaners. One of them is actually Corey, who you had recommended.
Yes, yes.
I have a couple others as well. And I have my calendars linked where needed. I have my automated messaging. Um, it's very easy to manage uh, when it's systematized like that. So everything is outlined. If a guest ever asks me a question, I answer their question, but then I go back into the listing and I put that in there, so that it's there for next time, every single time. And that's just forcing yourself to not be lazy on the systematization. And then the other thing is all the automated responses and stuff like that. So just making sure that everything's just clearly outlined, and it just click and send, and that's it. So management ends up being extremely easy.
Nice, nice. Okay, so everybody, if you have question, feel free to ask too.
I have one.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a couple.
Yes, go.
I'm not putting on the video just because the kids are running around and my house looks like a mess. And then I start talking, that's when they want to hug me. So just when you got the 100 grand, how long they take you to get? And also, can you talk about how important credit is? Because I feel like we miss the part about the credit being okay. And
Yep.
people usually jump in and it's their credit sucks and they're like, well, I can't qualify for a mortgage to do this. Well, yeah, because you don't have credit. So you got to work on that credit. You can't just be getting credit cards and things like that. And
Yeah. So
that
what's
grant, I want to know how you got the 100 grand because I need 100
yeah.
grand.
So let's start with the 100, and then we'll move to the credit thing. Okay. So for the 100, I didn't actually ever have 100 grand. I had $12,500 and a credit card that was about $20,000, and a line of credit that was about $70,000, and that was my 100 grand. So I never actually had that money, and that's why I'm saying, like, you need access to money. You don't necessarily need to have money. So I used that $12,500 as a down payment on my first home, 5% down, on a $250,000 home roughly. I used my credit cards and line of credit to renovate that, and that was all my money. I had no other money at all. So that's where I started. And for people who are trying to, like, get more line of credit and build their credit score and stuff like that, there's a couple strategies I want to share. The first one is get an account with Scotia. Scotia is phenomenal for this strategy, where you can take a credit card and then roll it over into a line of credit after 6 months. So I do that every 6 months still to this day. I get a credit card and I roll it over into a line of credit. The credit card dies, your line of credit, unsecured line of credit, goes up in value, the value of that credit card, and then you just reapply for another credit card and do that again and again until you hit a limit of about $70,000. That's as high as they'll let you go, with an unsecured line of credit, with typical lending, not like commercial or personal financing lending. Yeah, so that's one strategy or tip. If you don't have good credit and you want to build your credit, there's a couple different ways to do it. The first one is, if you're currently renting, ask your landlord to sign you up for a landlord credit bureau, because your rent payments can then go towards improving your credit score. So that's something that's super effective. If you are already a homeowner and your credit's like kind of shitty, there's a couple of different strategies. So the first one is making sure that all your bad debts are paid off, or consolidating all your debts into one line of credit that's lower interest, not going high in utilization. There's all sorts of strategies on building your credit. But another one that maybe people don't talk about a lot is using secured credit cards, and also finding someone that has good credit, that trusts you, and don't betray their trust, but you can actually piggyback off of their credit. There's different strategies that maybe just DM me after and I can send you links. you can piggyback off their credit to build your credit. So that is something that is a really effective tool to rapidly build your credit. It's like 45 to 90 days or so where a drastic change can really take place. And you should also for sure be using Borrowell and Credit Karma, which are two free monitoring apps that you can use for TransUnion and Equifax respectively. So I can't hear you, Fanny, sorry.
No, that's awesome. I think Scotia also has credit reporting. If you have any, like my mortgage is with Scotia, and I can double check every 60 days how it's going. So if anybody wants to get like a mortgage, or Scotia is really good. I like keeping up to date with things.
Exactly, yeah. So but Borrowell and Credit Karma, you can check every 2 hours if you really wanted to. Like
Is it true
definitely
though? Like if you keep checking, does it take a hit on your credit or no?
not through those apps. That's not how that works.
Okay.
Yeah, so you should be fine there. And yeah, just like use it as a pulse and use it as a scorekeeper for yourself if that's the case. And there's even like built-in AI coaches or whatever algorithm coaches in there that help you figure out how to improve your score even beyond. So might be useful, but make sure you check both. So I'll tell you why I'm saying that. When I went to buy my first house, I had fantastic credit. Actually, it was the hobby of mine to build my credit. My credit score was 899. It was great. It's not there now, and because as you use more and more and more things, and your utilization and your credit score just goes down. But back then, I had nothing really. It was just a hobby of mine, and I thought everything was great. So that was through Equifax, and I applied. And I was like, oh, this is going to be fantastic. Going to get a good rate. All this other stuff. But I applied through Scotiabank, and Scotia uses TransUnion as a reporting agency, not Equifax. And what I didn't know is that my TransUnion score was 600. And it's because someone entered in my TransUnion account my birthday wrong. And that guy, who was born a year earlier than me on the same day, whoever that fictional dude was, he had no credit, obviously, like he doesn't exist. So his score was still like 600 or 550 or some garbage. So as soon as they pulled my credit, they're like, yeah, we don't approve you anymore. Your pre-approval's gone. And that was really shitty and scary because I did a 14-day close on my property to get a good price because the guy wanted to sell quick. So then I was scrambling to make sure that was all fixed. It takes a little bit of time. It took 9 out of the 14 days to fix that, which was very scary and intimidating, but ended up getting fixed. And that's why I say check both because you never know what might go wrong.
Can you elaborate a little bit more about piggy banking? How did you say that? Piggy banking, the credit card or?
Oh yeah. So there's actually multiple strategies.
Don't
on
do
YouTube.
it.
What's that? Sorry.
No, don't do it. Don't piggyback unless you trust somebody, because they can mess up your credit. Like if you, because that's like getting a supplementary card for somebody else
right.
on your credit so they can build their own credit, right?
That's
So
right. That's
like
exactly
it has
what
to
I'm
be like
talking about.
somebody you really trust and somebody that you know can actually pay it off instead of like really missing it. Like I don't know. Like it has to be Jesus. I don't know.
So I would do it for most of the people that I trust with a credit card limit of about $500 to $1,000. Basically, like money that I know I'm not going to miss if they screw it up. But that's an effective strategy for someone trying to rebuild their credit, piggybacking or supplementary cards or something like that. That is exactly what I'm talking about, Fanny. That's a really effective way to help build your credit. But again, that's if you don't have someone like that, and you're not someone like that for someone else, the secured cards where you basically pay the money up front, you put the 500, 1,000 up front, and then use that card again and again and again, and pay it off each month, obviously, ideally in full without carrying a balance. That is another really effective strategy. But again, like guys, I'm not an expert in credit building or anything. There's YouTube videos on this. Just watch it and action it, like actually do the stuff. Most people just watch the videos and that's it. So
So how did you scale up so fast in only 2 years?
Every day something, every day doing something. So joint ventures are part of that as well. So yeah, like timeline. So February 2020, I bought my first property, my first rental property, I should say. And then March 2020, another one, using the refi money from my my secondary dwelling conversion. So both those properties were funded like down payments, 20% each, with the refi money from my first property. So I guess March 2020, I had 3 properties, and it would have been 2, 4, 7 units. And then from there, just repeating. So burr everything, and then just buy again and again and again, whatever's cheap, wherever makes sense, with joint venture partners where it made sense. So after that, so that was 7 units, and then I bought another 4, 8, 12. So yeah, so I was up to 19 units by June, by using joint ventures. So I was the money partner in 2 of those 4plexes, and an active partner in another one. Yeah, that's kind of it. Like just refi whenever possible, wherever makes sense. You make your money on the buy and add value strategically. What else? Then from, I guess, I didn't really buy anything else until like November, October, November. So October was like 13 units, and November was 17 units. That was like kind of the thing there.
And from now on, you buy them as a corporation. You don't buy them under your name, right?
For the most part, yeah. So like I still have, again, I didn't know what a corporation was until maybe like August or September. So that's my own ignorance, but yeah. So now I have a 3-tiered corporate structure, which was recommended to me by my accountants. The holding corp, which owns the real estate corp and then the property management corp. So yeah, I buy everything under my real estate corporation now.
Perfect. So are you almost financial free, or you just love your work, you don't want to retire?
So my real estate income is actually more than double my day job income right now, but it's not necessarily about the money. It's about a couple other things. So like qualifying for different types of mortgages is still a really important part of my life. So I am still using my day job T4 income, even though it's like 30% or so of my total income. It's important to banks for some reason, more so than the rest of the money that I make. That is basically where I'm at right now. So what financial freedom? Sorry.
No, sorry, I had a question. Just keep going. I'll ask after.
Sure. Yeah, like so the financial freedom is more time freedom than money freedom for me at this point. Like there's so many different ways to make a lot of money for people that want to work. So it should, hopefully it's not just the money that's motivating you, because that's going to grow old at some point. It's got to be something else, whatever your reason is.
Can you talk more about the joint ventures? Like, how do you get joint ventures? What networking? What your team is made of? Like you know, you have to have a broker, a lawyer, other people that are involved. Obviously, you're not doing it by yourself. Like, how important is the joint ventures, and how do you get them, and how do you get them to actually, let's say, for example, you can qualify for mortgage, but they need to come up with the down payment. How do you have that composition? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So yep. Like I only have 2 joint venture partners, and both of them kind of happened by accident. It wasn't really planned. It was just like the first one, we just went out for nachos and beer. We're hanging out. Seemed like a great dude to do business with, and we didn't have anything to talk about in terms of a joint venture deal. It was just an opportunity came up, and he's like, "Do you want to work together on this?" Sure, let's do it. We ended up doing a 50-50 joint venture where he was fully active and I was fully money, and that was our first deal together. And we did 2 others quickly after that. The second deal second joint venture partner. Again, we're just DMing on Instagram. We'd never even met, but we had a really good connection and still do. And just we saw this property and we're like, all right, let's do it again, 50-50. But this time we raised the money that the debt of the property was supported by the income of the property versus either of us. We raised the down payment, we raised the rental money, everything like that, and all the debt was supported by the property. So he was more responsible for putting together the financing and dealing with all the front end stuff, and I was more responsible for the construction and tenants and management and his other responsibilities on the refi side as well. So we just split our duties like that. In terms of attracting joint venture partners and deciding how you're going to split, that's a very personal thing, and it's really up to you. I personally don't think I'll be doing joint ventures in general going forward, other than with these two guys, and that's just my own decision. But in terms of attracting people, like, you just have to figure out what you actually have to offer, and then create the avatar of the person that is needing that. So if you are a contractor that is extremely effective and fast and cost effective, then your avatar person is going to be someone that has no time. Find that person, just advertise to that person, forget about everyone else. And in terms of raising money, remember that you're not begging for money, and you shouldn't come at it like that. You're providing an opportunity for people to make much more than they're making right now in their savings account or checking account, or probably stock market too for most people. So remember to treat it that way and not as a beg, because you are providing an opportunity, not a handout.
I want to ask you about the down payment for Dover properties. So you say you just refinance one property and then you take the equity out, then you use it as a down payment.
That's right.
Does the bank ask you to keep that for 3 months in your account?
It depends. It depends on the bank, depends on your relationship with the lender. In many cases, they want to see like a 30-day history. It depends. Again, I don't know what bank or anything like that, and everything's going to be case specific. It depends on your broker. It depends on how much business you're doing with them. They just need to, like, the reason that they're asking is because they want to make sure you're not laundering money. They want to make sure you're not doing anything sketchy or illegal. So if you can show like a story that makes sense, that's what you need to do. Like, it's not anything gray or black or red or like any sketchy thing. It's just, this is where the money came from. Like, if the money came the day before closing, but it was from a legitimate source, like, they're not gonna question, like, oh, why did you make so much money yesterday? It's like, oh, well, my business paid me, or I earned this from this, or whatever. Like, it's not always 30 days, right? It doesn't necessarily matter.
Oh, okay. It's because every time I went, they would always ask me to have like 2 months.
For sure.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
The 30 to 90 days is pretty typical. But again, like, for many of these deals, it's like, oh, well, I refinanced these two properties. I have whatever, the 150K sitting there from that, and that's where the money came from, and it's been there for 18 days. So,
Okay.
like, oh,
That's the shortest time is 18 days.
no, it's there for 1 day or unnecessarily. Talk to your lender and broker and whatever about that, but it really is case specific. There's no like blanket type of thing I can tell you.
Perfect. Yeah, but like right now, the house prices are going really up. It's crazy. But somebody who wants to start, do you think it would be better for them to wait a little bit, or what tips can you give? No, wait.
I don't like the waiting thing. It's too. I'm not patient enough to do that. Just to put in perspective, you can still find deals, and I'll tell you this, like, to put it in perspective. I just bought a duplex on Kijiji in October, November for $220,000 in London, Ontario.
No way.
It took a bunch of
renovate, but that was October, November. Everyone's like, oh, the market's gonna crash, back then. So bought that thing for 220, it refied at 550. That's one example. Another one, I bought a condo, it's closing June 30th. I bought that for 210. And that, again, like people aren't finding things like this all the time, and neither am I, but there's still opportunities to be had. But like, it's not about the timing, it's about buying properly. Do the numbers make sense today? Yes. Will they make sense if the interest rates go up a little bit? Yes, maybe you'll start to lose a little bit of money. Then it's probably a little bit riskier deal, but you have to accept that and know that going in. Would I just say like blanket wait for the market to crash? Absolutely fucking not.
So are you going to retire soon, or are you gonna keep working?
Yeah, like I don't know.
I don't know.
I like doing what I'm doing right now, so I got to figure out what's where
No,
my time is.
because you were saying financial freedom is about having your own time, having enough time to do whatever you want. But when you work 9 to 5, yeah, you don't have that because you.
Yeah, it's I'm not there.
Pardon me?
Yeah, I'm not there yet for sure. Like I still like 45 hours a week is my day job, right? So by there, and then the rest of my life is doing stuff like this. I am not fully ready to give it up yet, because there's still properties I want to buy that require residential financing under my personal name, that require my T4 income, that require those types of things. And until I can completely break away from residential financing and go fully commercial, so I do have some, like obviously on my corpse, that's all commercial financing. But until I can break free of the residential financing completely, then I will be here doing this.
What does it take to get there?
To go into commercial?
Yeah.
Just a commercial deal. Like I bought a box under a commercial. The property made a bunch of money, so that was actually it's crazy how easy commercial financing can be in comparison. Like for that deal, they're like, oh, yeah, send us your ID, send us your T1 general, send us the property per forma, and they're like, oh, cool, looks good. How much money do you want again? Okay, this is what I'm buying it for. Okay, yeah, we can lend you 75% of that. And interest rate was like slightly higher than residential stuff. I think I paid at a time when interest rates were about 2.5%. I think I paid 3.1 or 2.99, somewhere in that range. And then they gave me money, and that was it.
They didn't even check your credit score. They didn't check your employment.
They didn't check my credit score. They didn't. They asked me, can you send me a screenshot that you have the down payment? They didn't ask for history. They asked for thing. It's like, do you have the money? Yes, I have the money. Okay, here's the funding. And
that's how many units?
That was a 40-unit building, actually. I did that with RBC. But looking back, I could have maybe done residential, but the commercial just made sense at that point, where I was getting so many other things under contract on the residential side that my credit score, first of all, was really low. It was like 650, 690, somewhere in that range. And it was just getting the shit kicked out of it. And then the commercial financing wasn't that much more expensive overall, and I had the extra 5% to put down. So it just worked out really well. And they financed it at a 9% cap rate, which is kind of garbage, but the refi will be much more effective. So
if you have like 10 units and up, you can go commercial?
Actually 6 units and up, yeah.
6
or even 5 units and up. Again, it's really depending on your lender. So BMO and I think it's RBC, one or the other. They will do residential 5 units and under, but sometimes you want commercial, so you can kind of choose like which lender is going to do commercial stuff with you.
Okay, but do you plan to keep buying small unit, or now you want to go just?
Yeah, I just want to do the bigger stuff. That's why I'm raising money for the bigger deals, looking for money partners on that stuff, and also selling off some of my smaller stuff. So that first property that I ever bought, the duplex that I got for 220
Mhm.
in February last year. That one, I put a bunch of money into it and time and effort and energy and whatever else. Is my first project. I overspent, I over renovated, all the mistakes. It got broken into. Like so many things went wrong, so many things that I didn't see that I had to fix when I first started. But it's I'm selling it to actually the tenants, and they're just going to continue living there, and they're going to be house hacking now, I guess, because it's a duplex. So
Yeah,
really excited for them
that's good.
to be able to transition into the landlord lifestyle and hopefully start investing with and other things going forward.
Nice, nice. Does anybody else have any other question? I guess not.
Well, can you put his detailed information in the chat so that we have it, or do you have it on WhatsApp?
James, it's okay if I put you most of the time you are on Instagram, right?
Instagram is the best place to get a hold of me, for sure.
Okay, so when I you already did. Okay, he put in
Oh, there it is.
chat, but when I'm gonna put on YouTube, I'm gonna put his contact.
Okay.
Okay, somebody asked a question. Do you see it? Jen?
Yeah. So there's two, like, so you're talking about the difference between a cash out refinance and a line of credit, home equity line of credit refinance, right? So there's, I personally on my residential side always did the home equity line of credit refinance through Scotia. It's called the STEP program. The reason I chose that instead of a cash out refinance is because at that point my deal flow wasn't what it is today. I didn't have an idea of where I was going to spend the money next, that type of thing. So in my head, I was like, why should I pay interest on money that I'm not actually needing to use or whatever? So that's sort of one reason. The other reason is that through Scotia, with the home equity line of credit STEP program, you don't end up paying breaking fees or anything like that to do that type of thing, which is really a cost-effective strategy. You don't necessarily need to spend that money. Whereas on a cash out refinance, you are breaking your old mortgage and putting on a new mortgage. And that can get really expensive sometimes. And you're paying interest on all the money. So you better have somewhere to put it.
When do you pay interest on refinancing?
So when you refinance, you're now paying your new mortgage, right?
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. So if you did a cash out refinance, you pull out 100 grand, you're paying interest immediately on the full sum of money, versus in a HELOC, if you have a HELOC for 100 grand and you're not using it, you're not paying any interest.
Okay. Yeah, you pay interest only on whatever you're using.
In the HELOC, yeah, or
Yeah.
any line of credit, unsecured line of credit too.
Perfect. All right, so James, thank you so much for your
No
time.
problem.
Yeah. So if you have any question, I'm gonna put his contact on YouTube, and as soon as it's available, I will let you know so you can watch it. And thank you again for your time, and have a nice evening. And thank you, everybody.
Yeah, have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Good night.
Bye.